Hello, everybody. This is the third, or excuse me, our final imaging target challenge tonight. So, welcome everybody to the October 2023 uh, imaging meeting. And the target challenge this time around was the summer triangle. So, the triangle revolves around three stars. These stars are, golly, really drawing a blank all of a sudden. Deneb, um, Deneb, Vega, what's the last one? Altair. I was going to say Aquila, but Altair is the bright star of the constellation Aquila. So, whereas Deneb is the brightest star of the constellation Cygnus, and then finally Vega is the brightest star of the constellation Lyra. And so the whole point is to go around in this area. It's like deep within the Milky Way River, so therefore you're going to find just about everything as far as deep sky objects. About the only thing you may not find that much of course, because so much dust being obscuring the outside of the Milky Way galaxy are actual other galaxies that we can see out there. But there's a few there. But however, probably the majesty of the whole thing is that we get to see star forming regions, aka emission nebulae. We also get to see, like I just said, dark nebulae, which are nebulae that are just composed mainly of dust and which have been silhouetted in the background of all the stars that are in this area. And then we also have planetary nebulae. And for those who don't know, want a quick factoid about planetary nebulae, if you were to do a quick Wikipedia on it, you'll find out that planetary nebulae are representatives of what will eventually become our sun. Our sun will just slowly dissolve outward. It'll engulf the Earth. So there goes the Earth, burnt to a cinder, I guess. And yeah, that's what planetary nebulae are. And of course, well, obviously, if we are deep within the Milky Way, we're crowded with stars, and the stars are going to form knots and whatnot, which we just call star clusters. So we have two types. We have open clusters and we have globular clusters. So with that said, what we'll do is we'll go through all the members who are here and join us virtually, and we'll see what everybody came up with. Okay, let's see. What do we got, Naveen? Who's Okay, so Dave Filipowski, are you there, Dave?
I am. I just unmuted.
Okay, fun to hear your voice at least. So
And
take it away and see what you got.
can we put the other one up first, if that's at all possible?
Okay,
Yes,
very good.
because I did two separate things. This basically is an EAA picture of the Dumbbell Nebula that was 90 frames at about uh, uh, 2 minutes each. Um, and I ended up just doing a very little bit of cropping and contrast at the end, just to kind of get a sense about, you know, and this is maybe a strange concept, but what it quote actually looks like. Um, and so I did just a bare amount of adjustment with it, just to kind of just get a thought or an idea about sort of what it looks like. And then with the second one, and that's, by the way, that's the Dumbbell Nebula in the obviously in the center there. What I did on this one is I did actually processing through Affinity, where I did background removals, I did level adjustments. There are various things that you do to impact on the the stretching per se. So just as a way to sort of compare the two, and I'm actually torn, and just wanted to sort of folks' ideas or thoughts. I was able to deal with the gradient by using just sort of selected areas of the photo where I did background extraction in order to increase some of the contrast in the image. I think you can sort of see the details better if there's a way it allows us to zoom in on that. I don't know if that's possible or not. But if you zoom in on oh, good, whoever's doing that, thank you. Um, it really gives you some pretty nice detail in the dumbbell. Um, but it but I think I'm having a tendency to kind of push things too far. So just any thoughts or ideas about that in terms of the image itself would be welcomed. I also like that little I don't know if it's an unidentified cluster. They're sort of up to the at about 2 o'clock on the image above the dumbbell. There's some pretty cascade, and then kind of a little cluster there. And I've always loved the clusters. Um, so these are just two that I was sort of comparing and contrasting as I was going through with them. Um, so that would be the first one. Kind of not pushing it, so therefore you don't get as many of the background stars, those kind of things. But there's a little bit more apparent in a gradient, and then this one is pushed, and so as you get it through, you've got, like I said, I'm fairly able to deal with the gradient that I had seen, but something looks almost like it's too clear, and so just thoughts are welcome.
So, by what do you mean by like as in clear, as in like whereas if we were to look at actually Naveen's controlling everything, so that's nice. Naveen, go to this other image.
Thank you, Naveen.
Okay. So I'm guessing what you mean by clear is that you're saying that whereas this one, the background blackness of space is what I like to term it as, is
Yes,
a little on the, I guess you would say, smoky side.
yes,
Whereas
yes.
the other one, yeah, it's not as nowhere near as apparent. So
Right.
if you, all right, sorry, Naveen, go back to the other one. So when I look at this one right here, I can believe I can see a gradient. Yeah, that starts
Mm-hmm.
uh, at the lower right and then
Yep.
slowly fades out as it goes up to the left. Now, if I were to take a guess, I would say that this focal length that you have here is probably 400 millimeters or greater. What is your
Yes, I've got the Explore Scientific 102, and I think it's 688 is the focal length.
okay? Wow. So yeah, it's more narrow than I thought. All right. Anyway, but yeah, that's a light source that's coming through there. And if you when you go to your other image, you don't see that obviously. But one thing I tell beginners not to do, and this is something actually I kind of did the opposite. A lot of people complained about with my earlier images is that going on to that subject matter I was talking about, the blackness of space.
Hmm.
Space should not be just black. Okay, it has to be sort of a very uh, dark gray color. Okay, because if you start making space black, then there are chances that there are other tones in there that were darker that you're starting to also make black as well. Okay, called everybody's heard it. It's called clipping the histogram. Now,
Yes.
once you do that, go to the other image, Naveen. Sorry, don't mean to boss you around. Uh, yeah, everything else starts to become more apparent. Now that's you stretched your image on the white side as well, so you made darker tones, you whitened them. So or
Okay.
excuse me, you made a lot of the lighter tones white. Okay, so that's why your stars got huge in this. Okay,
Okay.
but you cut back on the background noise that could be seen in the quote blackness of space by clipping it, and because of that, a lot of there's a lot more black here. I mean, do you see that what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what's going on in this image. Now, me, I would look at yeah, you look at the first image. Yeah, you get. I feel like you get more detail delicate detail showing up with the dumbbell nebula. And let's just focus on the nebula by itself. But the dumbbell nebula in your first image, you see more detail within the core because dumbbell nebula, yeah, it's pretty bright. But a lot
Hmm.
of people like to pick up the outskirts of the fuzziness there. And that's what you kind of tried to do here.
Hmm.
And all I can say is that something that may help make this image a little better is one, yeah, if your sky where you are, the darkness, if it can handle it, make the exposures longer, and go and play with the idea of doing an HDR sequence with it. Because yeah, the dumbbell nebula has a lot of detail on the very outskirts. And probably, I'm sure somebody tonight is going to show us some of the stuff that's on the outer perimeter of
Right.
what we're looking at in this image right now. So, all right, I'll shut up anyway. So,
That
Can
was
I?
helpful. That was helpful.
yeah.
I
Hold on one second. Sorry.
So, Dave, one thing I would probably try is I've started playing around with Graxpert. There's a new beta version which has AI background extraction. I've liked it quite a bit. So there's in the image processing channel in Discord, there's a link to YouTube video overviewing it. Makes it really easy. So I might try that and see what the background looks like when you extract that. Because to Chris's point, like there's probably some of the color that you pulled out. And then if you do want to brighten up the dumbbell, you might look at StarNet to pull the stars out before you do that. So you can control the stars separately. And then you can get brighten the dumbbell without the stars getting larger. Yeah. Oh, and then once you have
because
one last thing, when you have extracted the background, play around with curves.
yes,
if you want to tamp stuff down instead of using like levels.
okay,
the levels will let you easily clip the black.
and that's what I've been doing that a lot.
Yeah, the curves will let you get a similar effect without really destroying the data. It'll just tamp it down.
Excellent.
Can I make a suggestion that
Sure.
What I've done, I think your 2 minutes sub exposures are fine, especially for maintaining the detail in the dumbbell. What I do is, of course, after you stack it, you'll see basically almost nothing. So in either GIMP or Serial, I do an initial exposure stretch just to start to see the M27, and then in Serial I'll do a GHS transformation, a stretch, and what that does is you'll concentrate it mostly on the dumbbell and increasing that without blowing the stars out too much. And you do that a number of times, save it, apply it, and save it, and then you can go back into whatever Photoshop and do some more playing around with it. And you could also go in and do some enhancements, haze reduction or whatever. And then also, I think with that, you'll probably end up with some nice detail in the dumbbell nebula. In that.
Thank you. That was all helpful for sure. The because I know with the background extraction that when I compare the other, the two, and then really zoomed in on the first one, there was indeed, there were a number of things that I sort of just eradicated from the image that as you, and this actually pushed the contrast already. So when but I think the stars are a little bit truer color than in the second one that I just tried a bunch of different things on. So just I don't know, it's pretty.
Dave, can I offer my opinion?
Absolutely, Mark.
Yeah, I think I would like the first one better, assuming that you got rid of the gradient that goes, top to bottom.
Across, yep.
Yep. And then maybe a little contrast boost, but not much. And I think that would be a beautiful picture because you've got nice star colors. And the little cascade you were talking about is much plainer in this version than the other.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Who's up next, Naveen? Don Duhart, are you there?
Yes.
All right, take it away.
Okay, I took this with my 94 millimeter Brandon refractor and the ASI 294 with a L enhanced filter, and it is I think it's something on the order of 67 3 minute sub exposures, and um, again I kind of pushed it, and what I did here is I used StarNet plus plus to get the to separate the stars, and then I recombined it with the original, maybe toned down a little bit in nebulosity, and then worked from there. And that, but I did most of the processing before that. Did a little bit of defringe, on the stars. Brought it into did a little bit with Topaz denoise AI, and again, Cyril and GIMP, and I think I have to be careful not to stretch it too far to get some artifacts starting to show up. I mean, I wanted to show some of the surrounding dust and nebulosity, but yeah, maybe I'm doing something wrong. I think I find out something every time I do processing. In that.
Don't beat yourself up.
I mean, what are you guys' thought on that? Does the stars look a little bit kind of goofy?
Well, here, let me get up close to the, the projector screen here.
Critique.
They look a lot rounder than mine do. I mean, I look at the corners.
Mm-hmm.
Corners. You may have some tilt going on, not by much. Amount of tilt I'm seeing, I wouldn't really care about actually. You're looking like your upper right corner. The stars are a little more elongated than the lower right. And then the
That could
ones on
be,
the
yeah.
left look pretty good actually as far as roundness goes. I mean, they're not super round, but I would be happy with it. So
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, tilt. Yeah, I'm adapting a an ancient telescope. I don't think anybody else of the 500 of these made. I don't think anybody's doing uh, modern astrophotography. So I've kind of pushed it to the limit, and actually, I think for what I have, the results are pretty good. And that, but yeah, it's probably some tilt. I would think you may be starting to see a little bit of um, a need of a field flattener, maybe because this is an older design. But I think you're
oh,
right.
did you?
I think
I'm sorry. Did you crop this?
uh, I don't think so. No,
Okay.
no, I did not. So that's why I was thinking maybe there's a little bit of. But you're right. It's on the bottom left and the upper right. So, yep, something to look into.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, I don't know if you're interested in it. I mean, if this is your field of view as is, you probably already noticed, but in the about the upper left area, I'm trying to look at a reference image of mine. There's that really faint planetary nebula there. It's called the soap bubble. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Oh, yes.
So
I don't
yes,
think I have enough.
yeah. Okay. So yeah, looking at my photo, but it's at a different angle. So yeah, so it's somewhere beyond the in the direction of the upper left there. So I don't know if that's something you ever want to pursue, but it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, huh? Yeah. I don't. How would you do that without overexposing everything else?
Okay,
That
so yeah, I'm sorry I didn't pay attention. What was this a just a radar color shot? It's not a narrowband or anything.
it's with the L enhance. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
it's a
L enhance. Oh, okay.
yes.
All right.
Yep.
Uh Yeah, well, I mean, you told me where you go to image. I think you could probably push it longer. Especially if you have an L enhance. I mean, it's a fairly
Yes.
dark area. I mean, you did go back to that whatever that gun club site or whatever.
Yeah, my these are taken from my backyard,
Oh, your backyard. Okay. Okay.
which is a Bortle 5, and these are up high,
Okay. Well,
Meridian. And I'm going by what I've read is that um, with the 294 and that, and I'm also running at a gain of 180, that I'm finding 3 minutes seems to be okay. Less issue with maybe over blowing up the stars a little bit. So I'll just take more images. Um, but yeah, but you're right. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, this is Steve. I'm seeing, maybe it's the projector here. It looks like pretty green to me, which sort of seems unnatural somehow, but I may not be that on a computer screen. It might just be the projector here.
I see what you mean. Yeah, and it's interesting. I get that after I that's a good point. Thanks. After I combine it.
It's just the traditional for the crescent. It's blue and red and not green. So if you want to be traditional, I guess
Yep.
the oxygen stuff you see is more bluish. But that, like I said, could be the projector. It looks very green to me.
No, I think you have a point. Yeah, yeah. All right, thanks. Yep.
yeah. So
Over
Don,
Zoom, it looks less green to me than it
what
does
is it?
on the projector.
So yeah, one thing that Steve mentioned, this is just me going through color sliders in my head. Probably what I would do here to fix that color. I mean, you wouldn't really need to like do a star mask or anything. Just take your uh reduce to yellow, basically, or blue, boost to blue. I think that's all you would need to do as far as like sort of white balancing this, and I think that would neutralize what Steve is talking about. It'll get rid of some of this greenish blue stuff. I mean, coarse greenish blue is quote cyan, but I don't think your cyan's messed up here because you have plenty of red showing up.
Yep.
So yeah, I think there's a hint of yellow here. If you remove that, just color balance it and just get rid of some, tone down the yellow. I think it'll look more natural, like Steve's describing.
Okay. Good. Thank you. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I took this last night with my 72 millimeter Williams. It's a little bit older scope. It's an f6. I had a focal reducer on it, so it's about 343 millimeters. Again with the L enhance, and this was 63 minute sub exposures at a gain of 180 with the 294. Kind of interesting with this with these tri-filter or dye filters with this ED refractor. I mean, it's kind of difficult to get the when I get it in focus with the Bantenoff mask perfectly, the red doesn't disappear. There's a little red halo around some of the stars, and and I'm trying to think of some other. So when I first started to do just to see initial stretching on it, I go, "Ooh, this is not this image is going to need some work," and improved quite a bit.
I mean, if you want some more advice, I pretty much would do the same thing that we just described with the Crescent Nebula.
Yes.
In this case, yeah, you got a little bit of yellow, and it looks like you may have a little too much green here. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the.
You know what that is?
Do what?
Part of that is the filter itself, because you're looking at it's only letting in the oxygen and the two wavelengths of predominantly of the height of the hydrogen, and it's letting in maybe 9 or 10% of the light. So I think you're getting some of that may be an artifact of the
no
filter
you're pretty much correct. Okay, so all right, so 565 nanometers. That's the one I've got memorized. That's red, hyperhydrogen alpha, and then the oxygen is bluish green. So I don't know exactly where I have memorized oxygen 3. Does anybody know what it is here? No? Okay. Well, anyway, but yeah, you've got it correct, Don. But I mean, some people some purists are probably going to cringe at this, but just remember, I mean, these are color palettes. It's not like you're distorting the science of the image here. So you can you could leave it like this if you wish, because that is exactly what's going on here. I think your filter is doing exactly what it's designed to do. Okay. The fact that that you're using a color sensor here, it's just going to pass through whatever you've already defined as its white balance. Okay. So it's the most common thing that you'll see in most acquisition programs is they'll have 2 sliders for red and blue, and just going back and forth on that, just different combinations of those. That's how you set your white balance for a color sensor. So if you ever want to do this, during the acquisition, you can quote fix it to look like what we're talking about, or you can just leave it like it is. I don't know. This is just a matter of opinion. It's just the color or the white balance of the image, or the color balance, if you want to call it like that too. So, but
the other thing is, I think I'm on the side of you have to know when to stop on your stretching.
Yeah, well,
I think this is about as limit as I can, and you push it, because you start to see some weird artifacts with the stars. When they get close together, they kind of get this the connection. It's hard to describe. It's kind of like shining a light through a black construction paper or something or other. I can't describe it. It's yeah.
Well, when I look at this image though, or this image and the last image, I mean, I have to say, it's like the past few meetings that you've shown some of your work. You're getting a lot better. It's not to say that your work stinks beforehand, but yeah, it's like everybody looks back at their old images and they cringe. It's like, my God, what was I thinking? And but no, I mean, yeah, these images are great. I mean, it's a great improvement from what I've seen in other in your other images. And then I mean, also, you're worried about overstretching or anything. Yeah, your images here, they don't have much in the way of nasty noise. And I can tell you haven't really clipped that much, because for example, if you look at the beak of the Pelican Nebula here on the right, and then you have the North American Nebula, if you look at where Florida is, look at that darkness that's in between the two. Well, you can see that there's fine shades of nebulosity there. So you didn't lose anything there by doing your stretching and whatnot, and you didn't clip anything out. So all the tones are there. Maybe a little more fiddling, you could make it better looking, but no, this is pretty representative of what you want to get out of processing. Yeah, it's really good.
Again, this is a scope. I don't have a motorized focuser. It's yeah, and yeah. So I'm using what I have and trying to get the best I can get.
Okay. All right. Anybody in the room have anything to add? You can raise your hand. No? Okay. Anybody at home? Okay, hold on one second.
I am curious what the strategy is for manually focusing. I've only gone out to a handful of the dark sky sessions, but I've only seen the automatic focusers, which is kind of mind blowing. But what's the strategy for manually focusing and getting such a crisp image?
I used the Bantonoff mask, and you're okay for I'm okay for a temperature. I let this telescope equilibrate outside, and then I'm okay for 10-15 degrees drop in temperature. in that, because I've checked the when I finish my 60 sub exposures, I'll throw the Bantonoff mask on again and check the focus, and it seems to be good most of the times. But there are times where if anything slips a little, especially when you do a meridian flip. I'll mention an issue I had with the split ring. There's two tightening nuts, and there's a split ring, and I have a Teleview focal reducer, and there's a slight taper and a raised up edge on where it slides in. Then there's another slight taper and a raised up, and that makes it difficult to tighten down on the to hold the focal reducer in place. And what happens is temperature change, or if you're moving the telescope, that thing, you'll hear a little click, and the thing jumped 5 or 6 millimeters. And then you have to start all over again with your focus and that. So I've had that issue. So I keep forgetting I need to slide it out so it just hits that first kind of, you almost could call it a stop, and then tighten it down right there. And that could have a big effect on the focus. So it's just so many things. I mean, if your focus just moves less than a human hair, I mean, you can be screwed. It can be that critical.
Okay, I'll just add one more thing. Like, for example, if you don't have a Bahtinov mask, I use a Bahtinov mask mostly for planetary stuff. As far as like deep sky, I don't really use a Bahtinov mask. What is both nice and bad about seeing is that when you get a star in focus with just your focuser using, turning it by hand, wherever you see, if you're not using something like a Bahtinov mask, wherever you see the flickering or the twinkling of the little star, then you're pretty close to focus. The other thing that you can do, I can see, is that if you're using a color sensor, the star, when you get in focus, you should see it twinkling like that. If it's not twinkling, then you are out. You should not be doing deep sky photography. You should be doing planetary work. I mean, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. Can of worms to open there to talk about. But anyway, but what will happen with a color sensor is you'll see that flickering, but you'll see it bounce back and forth between red and blue. Okay, the little chromatic aberration of the atmosphere, not your scope, but the atmosphere that's doing that. And when you see that happening, then you're pretty close. If you're just looking at it by eye, or it works if you're just looking through the eyepiece. It's the same thing will be occurring. But like I said, if it's flickering perfectly and it looks pinpoint, then you're pretty much in focus. And whereas with a color sensor, if it's bouncing back and forth between red and blue when it's flickering, then that's pretty much it. So there you go.
And this may be a little bit too simplistic, but as far as I don't use the automatic focuser either. And literally, as you're just making your adjustments, go a simple forward direction, and then kind of back it off a fraction, just as you think where you've gotten it perfect, and then sort of back it off a fraction. And it seems that last little adjustment sometimes will pop it in better as you're literally focusing, and moving the the manual knobs or whatever. I was taught that many years ago, and it seems to be a helpful thing to kind of just, you think you're there and then just literally back off a fraction of a step with the manual focuser. So just something I learned a long time ago.
But the other thing too is unless you have a nice Apo or a 4-element, you may think it's in perfect focus, but on some of the stars you'll see a little bit of a halo of color, because it can't bring them together, and it's more apparent with some of these filters and that. So it's kind of a compromise in that. I've done it very slowly, focus until it doesn't change, or it's just to the point where it's going the other way, and I put the Bahtinov mask on and it looks perfect. So I guess, I don't know. I mean, that's the only way Yeah.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Who's next? Who's up next, Naveen? Geez, sorry, Don.
Yeah, this is the. I'll be quick. This is the 72 millimeter again, with a 0.8 a focal reducer, and this is 3 hours. It's 3 minute sub exposures, and yeah, I'd use StarNet plus plus and recombined in nebulosity to reduce the stars in that. And of course, I was able to also work on the nebula in the starless image. But yeah, I noticed whether it's atmospherics or something or other that this wasn't as clear as some of the others. I'm not quite sure why. Focus I thought was okay because I could tell when you go into Topaz AI Topaz AI denoise that doing a little bit of processing had a good effect, but more than I was expecting. But yeah, you still? I think this has a little less of that green you're talking about in it, or whatever. But
You talking about with the witch's broom part?
Yeah, I mean, I tried swinging the color adjustments on that, and if you get too much blue, the reds start getting really funny.
Yeah,
So
it'll
that's
start
really
turning
kind of a
purple.
bluish. Yeah, it's the bluish green is really the color. It seems to be. Although at one other time I imaged just the the eastern veil. I got it to be able more blue in color. So I don't know.
Okay, very good.
But move on. Yeah, this is taking too long. Yes.
All right, who's on deck? Oh, this person has a really nice Cygnus wall. Who would this be?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, back here in the room. All right, here, introduce yourself. Go ahead. Tell us what we see.
So this is the Cygnus wall. My name is Jesus, by the way. On this chance, I try to get 4 colors, 4 chemicals in one picture. So I use 2 filters using the LX stream and an Antlia ALPT. Try to get 5 hours of both of the filters at the same time to try to at least balance the colors. So to get an idea of what is what, I couldn't remember it, by the way. Yellow is hydrogen A, green is hydrogen B, red is sulfur, and blue is oxygen. So just trying to give it as much depth as possible. Wanted to challenge myself. The top thing up there, it's a red object. I think it's a Herbig Haro object. I couldn't find it in the planetarium. Yeah, no, not quite sure what that is. I couldn't find it anywhere. Wish I knew. And you cannot see them individually on both filters. Only once you put them together, that color comes out, which is interesting. An 8-inch reflector. It is speed boosted to f4, I think, about 1,000 millimeters. So f4. It's 1,000 millimeters, but it's reduced to f4, so that's let's say maybe 600 millimeters, something like that. Thank you.
Okay, that looks fabulous.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Anybody in the room have any thoughts or critiques or commendations, criticisms, comments? Okay. Consensus is
don't zoom in, I say.
All right, very good. Yeah, I mean, why? What's so wrong with zooming in?
Unfortunately, because of the sharpness, the sharper you go, the more accurate your tracking needs to be. We're resolving at 84 arc 0.84 of an arc second. So each pixel is 0.84 of an arc second. So trying to get the stars to be tight at that sharpness, it's very difficult. It's your tracking needs to be below 1 arc second or 0.80 of an arc second for the stars to be sharp and round.
Yeah, that's something that's like one of the downsides of the chip I use. It's the the pixels on that chip are it's a 20 megapixel chip. It's like oh okay, that's a nice size. Yeah, but the pixel sizes are 2.4 microns. So sometimes I'll go all the way up to 600 millimeters, just because. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, when you get to with at least with my with this chip that I'm talking about for mine, yeah, when I get to like beyond 200, 200 is my favorite focal length with that chip. It just starts to you can see how messy your guiding is. So, but okay. Anyway, what's up next? Is that you? Is that you too?
So again, this is the Pelican Nebula. 2 filters again, L Extreme and the Amplia ALPT. We're looking at the same color guide here. Yellow being hydrogen A, green hydrogen B, red is sulfur, blue is oxygen. Again, the same resolution, 0.84 of 0.84 per pixel. And same issue as in the other photo. The stars can be, they're not very round, but the photo came out okay. I think it's pleasant.
Well, I mean, you got the diffraction spikes there that draws your eyes to from looking at anything that may be elongated. So, oh yeah. I knew you were going to dig this a lot, Naveen. When I saw that, I was like, it's like I said, those are you can term as dark nebulae. It's just dust that's been silhouetted by the emission nebulae and starlight behind it. So, okay, what do we got next?
And just quickly, you made the comment about dimensionality. I definitely see the depth in both of your images. That is, as you described it, as pleasant. I said beautiful, but it's yes. you captured that dimension.
The camera was a Sony A6300. It's modified for near infrared. No, infrared. Near infrared is for. So it's modified, but it's also Peltier cooled. I modified it to have a Peltier device hooked up to it. It does up really badly, but it works. I think.
That's impressive. Well, okay. Okay, yeah, everybody's talking in the room. Yeah, so yeah. The question was what the type of camera it was and processing techniques and whatnot. But okay, what do we got next? Oh, Mark. Okay, very good. You there, Mark?
I'm here.
All right, take it away.
All right. This is Bernard's E. I took this with my standard set of equipment, my Teleview 4-inch f5 and my ASI 294, same camera that Don used. No filters here except for the UV-IR. And this is 42 minutes, 42 times 60 second exposures. And this area is right off of in Aquila, the Bright Star in Aquila. I lost my mind. Anyway, there's just a tremendous number of stars in this picture, and the E, the outline of the E that you can see there in the dark nebula is kind of neat. But as I was doing the picture stacking, PixInsight was telling me how many stars it found in the frame, and it said 22,000. 22,000.
I was about to say, I thought the computer would probably take a day off after this, counting all the stars in each of one of those frames,
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But anyway, this was taken from my front yard in Cary and pretty much unfiltered. But I like Dark Nebula, and this is a pretty neat one.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that's great about dark nebulae that that are like solitary, like you have here, it actually does harm to tone down your stars, because then you start to lose the nice contrast of the dust formations that you're trying to get to show up. So in that regard, it's almost as if getting dark nebulae to show up is tough as far as like acquisition goes, and making sure that you're in a dark area. But when it comes to like processing the stars, it's cake.
Yeah, definitely the
as
more
far as the
stars,
stars
the
go. So anyway, anybody else want to comment here in the room? No? Okay. Anybody at home? No? Okay. All right. What we got next, Naveen? All right.
Oh, okay. This is another one of mine. This is the Tulip Nebula and Cygnus. And let me get my statistics up here about this. Like Don, this is using the Optilong L enhance. I call it E enhance. I don't know if that's right or not, but what I did on this, and what I do with most of the pictures that I shoot with this filter, Don, is I take my nebula and separate it out, and then I shoot another set of photographs on just the stars without that filter, and then I combine them back together because I don't like the star colors I get with those narrowband filters in place. And so
exactly.
Yeah. So this is 7.5 minutes on just the stars, and then 90 minutes on the nebulae.
I like it. Yeah.
I don't know. Just throwing it out there. Non-imaging techniques. What star is that? That's in there on the right. Because you know all this kind of stuff more so than all of us. You've memorized the catalog of stars out there.
No. I knew it. I shot these pictures for the challenge a couple months ago, and I have forgotten since I took it.
What do you have circled there, Mark?
That was I was coming to that. Thank you. So in the middle of that circle is the name of that star. In the middle is called HDE 226868, and you wouldn't know that star for any reason except that it's in a binary system with Cygnus X1. So that's the first black hole that they ever really confirmed that exists. So sort of, kind of, there's a picture of a black hole, sort of, kind of.
I don't know.
Nice.
Looks pretty dark there.
So if we could see it, that's where the black hole would be.
Mark, you also have a little bit of the shock that you can see sometimes when you do that area from the black hole. There's a little curvy area there, just above and to the right. You can barely. You see there's a, it's to the right and up to the right of that.
Steve,
there's a little area there that's like a curved area that's a little lighter than the others. All the way up, further up, Chris. There and up. From there and up, there's a little curved area there. If you look at like, I think it's oxygen mainly, but if you look there in some other images, you'll find there's a kind of a shock wave there that I think is connected to Cygnus X1, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you're right, Steve. I read that once, and I didn't inspect my image that closely to see.
Right. Look at some other pictures of the tulip, and you'll see that sort of shock area right there. It's kind of interesting.
And when I took this photo, I was not expecting, I was expecting to get the tulip, but I was not expecting to get all the neat hydrogen alpha nebulosity up towards the left side and up. So that was a good surprise to me.
Yeah, I think if you were to keep going to the, if I've got my bearings right here, if you keep going to the left there, you'll eventually run into, is it Sadr or Sadr? SADR.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the
Yeah,
center of the
SADR.
cross of the Cygnus constellation. And then you start to reach all those other really bright nebulae. I mean, actually, I think what you would run across that's really obvious at first would be the Crescent Nebula. If you were to just go straight to the left, you would run into Crescent Nebula, and then eventually you would run into those really contrasty dark nebulae in the back with all that hydrogen alpha in the behind it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is, by the way, the full frame of my ASI 294 camera. I think I
Okay.
cropped just a little bit off the bottom in the right side just to get rid of some stacking artifacts.
Well, very good. I mean, everything I got up really close to the screen just a few moments ago. Yeah, all the stars look nice and sharp to the edge. But then
And
again,
I focus,
you do have a teleview, so
yeah. And I focus with a Batinoff mask, so no automatic focuser for me.
all right, very good. What we got next, Naveen? All right, thanks, Mark. Is Nathan there? All right. Way back here trying to
Hello.
read. Oh, yeah, Mr. Rayner. Okay. All right, yeah, take it away.
Hi. Hi. So I'm Nathan. I live out towards the Zebulon area. So it's, if I had to guess, maybe like a Bortle 5. So I started working with this setup. I got it back in January. So I've been trying to learn as I have time. So this is an 8-inch imaging reflector. It's the Skywatcher Quattro, I guess 200p or something. And then I have the Starzona Nexus focal reducer, which brings it down from a f4 to an f3. So it's actually 600 millimeter f3. So I'm using the L enhanced filter, like many others, with the ASI 533 MC, I think is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The square aspect ratio, one shot color camera. So all of that is sitting on top of the ZWO AM5, one of the new Strainwave mounts. So this one was about 3.5 hours. And for processing, I've been experimenting with Serial. So usually I'll stack everything in Serial and then run either just the normal color calibration or the photometric color calibration. Sometimes I'll remove some of the green noise. And then I will run it through StarNet to separate the stars from the nebula, and then process those separately, just do like a final stretching GIMP before recombining. So I like this one. It was really interesting to see some of the bluish green come out from the oxygen, especially that little cloud coming off of the top of the crescent there.
Okay. Any comments in the room? No? At home?
A very nice image.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. Very good. All right. So
this
what
one
we're
is
looking at here.
So this one's also mine. This was one of my first attempts at a mosaic, and this is actually using a nifty 50 Canon 50 millimeter lens. So I've got an adapter that lets me put that on the ASI 533. So I think I'm still using the L enhanced filter here, but this is a 4-panel mosaic. And if you zoom in, you can kind of see the seams because the 50 millimeter lens has a lot of coma and aberrations in the corners. But I was actually impressed with how well it did do. I probably could have cropped it a little bit before stitching them together to make it a little less noticeable. But I'm actually using the Microsoft image composite editor, I think is what it is. I don't think you can get it from Microsoft anymore, but there are some websites that still host it for you to download it. And it's pretty cool. It can stitch together lots of images to form panoramas and things, and it works really well for mosaics. And so this was just capturing as much as I could in this region. I think each one of those panels was probably about 30 minutes. And then the lens, I stopped down to 5.6 to try and reduce some of the aberrations. And it was pretty cool to see the different field of views. So like the crescent is like almost right there in the center, teeny tiny little thing.
Yeah, very nice. That's pretty much what I was getting at with Mark, although this is sort of in the opposite direction. So, yeah, I mean, you zoom in on the tulip, Naveen. Very good. Yes, that's right. Sorry, that was kind of an insulting tone there. Yeah, but zoom in on that. Sorry to do this to you, Nathan. You could zoom
That's
in on
okay.
all the stuff. But yeah, there's the tulip, and then down there to the lower right, there's the crescent, and you keep moving to the lower right. I mean, and then there, that bright star, that's Satyr, and then I can't remember the exact name of that nebula. Yes, butterfly. Thank you. Yes, that's correct. And then, of course, you get to the bright star right there. That's the Neb, and of course, you have the Pelican and North American right there. But yeah, I guess you can go. The last thing that was really nice was over there on the lower right. You have the supernova remnant. There you go. Your Veil complex. So yeah, lots of stuff to be seen in this area. Hence the reason for the challenge. You can pretty much say that you did it all right here, and you could have called it a night. So,
I need to sit down and actually look through the whole region. There's so much in there that I didn't even realize were common things people shot. So it's a really densely packed area there. It's really fun.
It's interesting because this lens it works out a lot better on a 11.3 by 11.3 millimeter format, because I know on my APS-C format, my lens has an issue up on one side, up a corner. It's kind of like out of focus, kind of permanent. So something it's not right with the lens, but this looks good.
Yeah, I love the broad field of view. And as you said, only because you pointed it out can I see the sections for the mosaic. But other than that, it's just I love these kind of shots when you see so much at once. Like you said, very cool.
all right, what we got next, Naveen? There we go. All right, take it away.
So yeah, this is my last one. So it's just another zoomed in view of the Western Veil. So this is using the same Newtonian at f3, so 600 millimeter focal length. Same thing, L enhance filter. This one was let's see, actually, about 2.5 hours. And so, and I only do about 30-second exposures. I feel like I can get away with it because of how fast the scope is, especially being reduced. And I've got enough storage space that I can just take more pictures to get the total integration time up. But I'm also not guiding. So if I go much more than about 30 seconds, I can start seeing more star trails. The strain wave mounts are really nice in that I don't have to use a counterweight for a big scope like that. But the longer your exposures are, the more trails that you can see. So I think one of my next improvements is going to be either getting some counterweights or I don't know if I want to jump into guiding quite yet, but maybe later on down the line.
Well, it's better than any veil I've done. to say that. I haven't done it yet.
Great. How many exposures was that total?
Um, well, they were 30-second exposures. It was about 2.5 hours. I don't know how much I actually threw out,
Roughly.
but it was
So
like
300 exposure?
so let's see if it was 30-second exposures. It's like 150 minutes roughly.
And 2 to each minute, so 350, 300.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Okay. Actually, just one more question for me. So was I hearing you correctly? This is like the first time you've like really imaged with this setup and presenting the results?
Yeah, this is the first meeting I've been able to join. I'm usually pretty active in the Discord, but I stay kind of busy, so I haven't had a chance to go to any in-person meetings yet. So this setup, I got most of the components back in January, and I've been making some customizing improvements and things. So like I've done some 3D printing for different things. I've added like a fan on it to help um, cool it down and like equalize temperatures pretty quickly and maintain like a I don't know how laminar of flow the air would be through the tube, but I feel like it helps sometimes. Just some other little tinkering on it. I actually started with the Star Adventure little tracker with the Canon camera. So I had done a little bit maybe a year before, but um, in January of this year is when I first got like the step up into the astrophotography realm with an actual nice mount and bigger telescope.
Yeah, well, I'm jealous. You went further than I did. Just first getting out with us an all-out setup. Yeah, I
I
didn't
was
get
going to say,
into it. I just did it, wandered into the hobby aimlessly. So, but
It's
that's
a
my
lot of
life.
fun.
I
I'm
was going to say
designing my life.
further and quicker, and just that's amazing, Nathan, that you've gotten that far with it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. You're an accomplished imager already. There you go. so, so
I feel like there's always a lot more to learn. Like I'm still trying to figure out some things. Like for example, the L enhanced filter. I don't remember having as many issues when I first got it, but now I get really bad halos on bright stars with it. So I don't know if I've got like a back focus issue or something in there that's slightly off, but there's always more to learn and more to tinker with.
to his life. Okay, what we got next? You? Do you have a mic on? Oh, you don't have a mic over there. Okay, all right. Here we go. This is Naveem, by the way.
Hello. Okay. It is almost 8:40. I've got quite a few pictures, so I'm gonna go a little fast, hopefully. Tried a couple new things out. I wanted to get the entire summer triangle, so I put my 20 millimeter Sigma art lens on the Canon T2i and focused it manually. We were talking about that before, just manually just eyeballing it, and this is what I got with about 70 minutes from my backyard. Cropped it quite a bit off one side because after the meridian flip, I didn't bother trying to center it again, and there were a lot of artifacts. But it was fun to kind of poke around and see what's in the area, though there's not much detail. I didn't realize this was in the region. I can't remember exactly where it is off the top of my head now, but it's a bunch of dark nebula. I think, looking at Mark's picture and the comments about brighter stars, I'll probably go back and brighten up the stars in this one, see if it pops out a little better. But it wasn't much time. I tried the Canon T2i on my 150 PDS, so that's a 6-inch Newtonian. reduced slightly, 0.95. So it's f 4.75. I just wanted to see if what I could do with the DSLR on the Newt, and so this is one of the things I played around with. I call it dark hand. It kind of looks like a claw or hand reaching up, especially if I could get some more time on it. But I don't expect I'll put that rig back together. It was kind of annoying. I don't like this picture, but I put it out there just to show, like, sometimes you have failures. This is with the L-enhanced clip in the Canon T2i, which is HA modded at the Rokinon 135. And I've done other shots with this configuration, but for some reason, this one just didn't work out. It's almost 5 hours shot at f2. So I don't know. So not always going to be winners. Did this one at Staunton River, 5 hours. The Rokinon 135, no filter. Lower left is Cocoon Nebula. It's blown out a bit. Did it on purpose. Sue me. I wanted this because of I like dark nebula. So you've got the tendrils coming off of Cocoon, and then a whole bunch of other interesting stuff going on. In the center, I think it's SH2101, or there's some, I can't remember the number now off the top of my head. It's in Discord somewhere, but this was pretty cool. I might tone down the saturation in the stars if I reprocess it. Sometimes I try new things, but I'm just going to try and go punchier, and kind of like it. But the more I look at this one, I'm like, maybe not. And then the Rokinon 135 with the L-enhance 3-panel mosaic from Crescent in the bottom right over to North American Nebula. It is like other mosaics and larger wide fields. It's just fun to look and see what is where. There's another one I took with the C8 that somebody commented on the photo saying, like, I went and looked in this mosaic to find that little section. And it's interesting. It's like a little, I think it's right here. Like, it's a little tiny blob. So really fun. Now I'm curious, like, what this is up here. I might have to go. Oh yeah, okay. Okay. That could be fun to image.
Can you repeat that? What was
Chris
that one?
Talking. Sorry.
I want to say that's SH2115. I'm probably wrong, but because I think there's a nebula above it that's actually 115. But actually, maybe SH2112. Well, whatever. I'm gonna quit. Guessing at the number. But what's nice about that area? There was one that I talked about that I was doing at the last meeting, and I did finish it, acquiring it, but I never did. I didn't get a chance to finish it in time for the meeting. And but yeah, it looks almost, if you were to get a really good look at it, as far as like a longer focal length, it looks like a tiny Pac-Man nebula almost. It's yeah, so that's what that is. And yeah, above it there's a nice nebula there. That's another SH2 object. And what's nice about that one is, well, it's an emission nebula, and it has a planetary nebula thrown into it as well. So
all right, and then my C8, using the ASI 2600 mm, which I have to heavily crop because with the reducer, the stars are all sorts of messed up. It would be perfect for like a 533 sensor size, the 1-inch sensor. But anyway, I'm sorry, what? Sharpen it some more. Yeah, maybe. This is a little bit over 9 hours with color from, or RGB for the stars. All right. There is a dark cloud, some dark nebula. I believe this is off of Tulip Nebula.
Is that the epsilon again, or no?
I'm sorry, what was the question? Is it
the epsilon again? The E or no? The one that marked
no,
that?
No. This was a random thing I've taken to just with the C8, just panning around in either Stellarium or Nina, and just finding areas that look interesting. And this seemed interesting with some dark tendrils. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to take a picture of that. I took this one out at 3 Bears, about almost 5 hours of data. Yeah, RGB, so not narrowband. That was
I love this one. The Venus is great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Very nice.
Ghost of the Moon is a planetary. I didn't get a lot of time on this. This is 42 minutes, but I haven't gotten time to go back, and it's just RGB. I don't know if there's more faint structure around it, but if I was looking at the live stacking, or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was the individual channels, but one of them looks like a crescent moon, like it's brighter. I think like the top is dimmer in the orientation here, like the top is dimmer in one of the channels, and it looked kind of like a crescent moon. It's kind of a cool object. Pelican Nebula, almost 8 hours. I don't like the colors on this one. I haven't had time to go back and reprocess it, but I've always liked this orientation with, again, darker tendrils sticking out. And just there's a theme, and then Tulip in HOO. I haven't captured any S2 yet with RGB stars. Plan on spending more time on this. My wife's favorite flower is tulip, so I think I'll do something with this for her, though she probably won't care too much, but gives me an excuse to take pictures. Crescent, a little bluer maybe than I want after I've looked at it a few times, but still, it's kind of cool. This is, I used the hydrogen and oxygen for the luminance, so it's otherwise all the cool blue around the nebula dropped out using just the HA for luminance.
It's funny you should say that. One copy I have, or the one I took that's on Flickr, that's exactly what I did, because yeah, that nice halo there, it's nice and rich, but yeah, if you just combine them, the channels, and then use HA as luminance, it's like completely gone. So, and yeah, but anyway, that was a good call.
What's in the dead center of the nebula there?
Yeah, it's not a problem with my setup. If you look at other people's pictures, like there's like a dark area there. I don't know what it's called, but it's really there. Yeah. Alien.
Looks alive, Naveen.
I think this might be my last one. This was out at 3 Bears. This was again just panning around in I think it was in Nina, just to look for interesting objects, and got a little over 3 hours with this in RGB with the C8. I really like this one. There's a lot going on with the dark nebula. You got the emission nebula and reflection nebula. Just it's really cool. And that's it.
Okay, beautiful. Is that all we got on the list there? I mean, as in everybody, not just you. Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. So, well, there we go. That's our the primary topic of this meeting, and it's just showing off our pictures. And next part of the meeting is going to be about pictures that we've taken since last meeting, which is, just bear with me for those who are new. What we do is the typical format we have is we give a presentation on a topic, and then afterwards all the people in the club, they show off their images that they have taken since the last meeting. So Who we have first? Oh, okay. Want to go with Steve Christensen? All right, here we go, Steve.
The things I'm showing are my experiments with the C-Star S50 that I got about 2 weeks ago now. I've been waiting since April to get, and I've got it sitting here. I had Dwarf 2 before that. It was experimenting with, but I wasn't too thrilled with it. So I got the C-Star, which I ordered back in April. It took a long time to get here. So I've been experimenting with doing different things with it, both from my driveway in Durham and from Staunton River. Partly is because I live in Europe 4 months out of the year now, and I wanted something I could travel with. I think the C-Star is going to be the thing I'm going to take with me. Anyway, so here's the bubble nebula. This was done for my driveway in Durham, and just quick processing just to see what I could get. And the C-Star is limited to 10-second exposures. So I usually take pretty much an hour's worth of anything I pointed at. And so I process this one in PixInsight and Photoshop. And there are obviously some things that need to be fixed in here and various weirdnesses, but it's fun to play around with and see what I can do with such a tiny little scope and camera setup. I mean, when I bought it, it was $400. Now it's retailing for $500, and I think it's really a remarkable thing. You can put a bottom-off mask on, you can put other filters on it, you can do solar, you can do lunar, you can't really do planetary, but you can do pretty much anything else, and they keep upgrading the software. So I'm extremely pleased with it. They're very hard to get because there's a long waiting list for these things, which I understand. Anyway, there's the bubble. Devine just wanted, okay, there's my version of the crescent. And you can see its weirdness of colors and things like that. But this is, like I say, this is an hour of 10-second exposures. Quickly process. It will process them within the telescope. And sometimes I will use what the telescope stacks. And sometimes I will take the individual frames and put them in PixInsight and stack them there. And it just kind of depends on which I think is better. Okay, next. Okay, this is with no stars. This is my version of the Cygnus wall, and with it's probably an hour's worth of 10-second exposures, just in playing around with taking the stars out, seeing what I can get. Okay, next one. Okay, and there's the Elephant Trunk Nebula, and like I say, everything is about an hour's worth of exposure, mostly from my driveway. Yes, typically when you see a nebula, it's with the light pollution filter that's built in. You have a choice of turning that on or off, and depending on what you're shooting, if it's a nebula, I usually turn that on. I've tried turning it off and putting my own filters on the front. I have a little filter drawer that I can put on the front of it. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. I haven't finished experimenting with that yet. Because the system doesn't really quite understand that you put a filter on the front of it. And so I have to play around with that some to figure out how to do that. Okay, next one, Vivi. Okay, and this is one I did last night of the flame and the horse head. And you can see that the really bright star has a lot of halo around it, and I have to figure out how to deal with that yet. This is about 30 minutes of exposure, something like it's the last thing I did last night at about 4 a.m. So that was fun just to try. Because it was up in the sky, it was easy for me to finish off the night with, so I did that one. Okay, next. Okay, and there's one I did maybe a week ago, just looking like that. It's way oversaturated, I can see on this screen here, but you get pretty good detail with this little thing. It's a triplet telescope, so it's pretty good at getting some detail and things like that. Okay, next. All right, okay, wow. I look on the screen, I see that's the iris. It looks way, way different on a computer screen, but the projector is really doing it. Like I said, everything's about an hour's worth. Okay, next. All right, now this is with the Dwarf 2, which has a wider field of view on it. But it has some advantages. You can kind of adjust the gain. You can kind of adjust the time to make it a little bit longer, that sort of thing. But generally speaking, when I've tried it on the nebulae, it doesn't do very well at all. It's okay for galaxies, but it's not great for pretty much anything else. So it's not what I particularly recommend, because the pricing is basically no different. Yeah, I would get the C-Star in a minute before I would buy the Dwarf 2. But this was with the Dwarf 2. This is about an hour of 15-second exposure, something like that, at gain 80. So that's about the best I can do. I've tried several times to do this. This is as much detail as I can get out of this little thing. Okay, next. All right, this is the very first thing I did with the C-Star, the obvious thing when anyone does when it's something new. And I was really kind of shocked at this, because I thought it was way better than I expected for this thing to do when it came out. And it comes up on the iPad screen that you control this thing with an iPad or an iPhone. And it came up really, really nice on the iPad screen as it was stacking. So, but this was ultimately stacked in pixel sight. But I was really pleased with that for a $400. I got it for $400 back, because I ordered it back in April. It's $500 now. Okay, next. Pleiades, again, for my driveway, about an hour's worth of exposure. It's very yellow looking stars here. It doesn't look like that on the computer screen, I don't think. But yeah, and I was relatively pleased with the nebulosity I could get from that. Okay, next. I did this last night about 2 a.m. That's obviously the Ring Nebula. And that's more or less the field of view that you get in the sky for this kind of thing. So the ring is very, very small. But the color is there. I can't see the star in the center of it. But it was fun to just see it. You know. And it was very, very quick. So for EAA, this kind of thing pops up well, just like the Orion Nebula does and a few other things. Okay, next. Okay, then I just blow it up. It doesn't really blow it up much, but you can blow it up and get.
Hey, Steve?
Yeah.
Quick question for you. On your full-size picture from before, this thing has sort of an odd size ratio on the length to height, doesn't it?
That's the typical shape of it, which I'm not too thrilled with, because there are a lot of targets that I would have to do a mosaic in. And as far as I know, ZWO is going to do a mosaic feature with the software when they do an upgrade, but they haven't done it yet. So I would, if I wanted to get something that wouldn't fit into this particular window, I would have to do more than one shot and then do a mosaic. And I haven't tried that yet. So this is what you see typically. This is not cropped.
Is that chip like 3.5 millimeters by 5.6?
I don't know what the sensor is inside. I'm sorry, I don't remember what it is. I have to look it up. But that's typically what the box looks like on the iPad screen when you're aiming it at something. So I just put up with that. Okay, next. Okay, this is Melot 15, which I can see is way oversaturated, but this is in the heart of the heart. And so that's again not cropped. That's what you would get if you were looking at it on the screen. Processed in pixel sight, again about an hour's worth of exposures. Okay, next, and you can do lunar obviously, and it does pick up the colors on the surface, that sort of thing. I haven't done much lunar. I've done a little bit, but not much yet. Okay, next. All right, this is what is it? NGC 457, I think. When I was in Stent River, one of the guys who was looking at it asked me to aim it at this because we happen to like this particular cluster. And so I did maybe 15 minutes on this. Again, you can see the shape of what the sensor is giving. Okay, next. All right, and this has nothing to do with the C-Star. This is just my Canon camera with a 5.8 millimeter lens baby lens, and I just shot the entire night and did a time lapse, so you can see the clouds going through and all of that, all the way from the Milky Way in the beginning, and then clouds coming through and clearing off, and then that was the lens fogging up because there's so much dew up there, and then cleaned that off and let's let it go until sunrise. So that was Tuesday, yeah, Tuesday into Wednesday, yeah. So that's every it's a 20-second shot every 2 minutes, I think.
Steve, I think I already commented on that one, but
Venus and the moon, yes.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites that you've put up recently, because haven't been there. I've been there way into the night. It really does nicely capture kind of what you saw over time. So that was cool. I really like that shot.
I've done that a number of times. It's fun to do up there.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't do up on you.
Right.
I even put the hand warmers on the lens and still do that. Difficult. I had to watch it very carefully. Okay, next movie. All right, this is the solar you can put a solar filter on the front of the C-Star, and you can either take movies and stack the movies, but you can just do individual images. And it's if you tell it to look for the sun, it goes and finds the sun for you and centers it and all that. And you can take pictures and take videos and play with that. Okay, next. All right, this is the Tadpole Nebula. Again, it's weird looking a little bit, needs more processing, but you can see the little tadpoles on the center right there.
Mm-hmm.
This is, like I say, pretty much everything is an hour of 10-second exposures. Okay, next one. And this is the Wizard. And the stars are a little bit weird here. I have to work on that. But I just think it's remarkable what you can do with a $500 device. Okay. I don't know what else there is. Is that the last one? Okay. That's all I've got.
Well, Steve, like you said, the two pieces that jump out at me is the your portability, just in terms of being able to cart it all over the place, but then also just it gives you a quick EAA that it also looks just awesome to be able to look through. So that
EAA cool. Is a little dubious for some things, yes. For these nebulae and things like that, they're not really going to show up on the screen particularly well for EAA unless you want to wait around an hour. But for things that are relatively bright, it's pretty quick. It's a few minutes, and you'll the Orion Nebula and the Ring Nebula and a few things like that will come up quite quickly. Whereas something like Melata or these other ones will take up at least an hour for you to see anything on the screen. So I would recommend it for that kind of thing. But for things that are fairly bright, it's basically amazing, and lunar and that kind of thing too. So if you're willing to spend $500, I think it's worth buying if you can get one.
Do you think they'll eventually make it so do longer exposures than 10 seconds? Hmm. Okay, yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, that was the I feel like Bonehead. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it's Altaz, so it can only be so long. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe it'll have a wedge for it. All right, Mark, you're up.
Yeah. This is kind of an experiment. This is NGC 147 and NGC 185. And they kind of look like just two fairly boring little galaxies. But when you kind of look at what the reason I put it up here is because these two guys are satellite galaxies of M31, the Andromedan galaxy. So everybody knows about M32 and M110, but these guys also are satellite galaxies of M31. And these are actually in Cass, about 7 degrees away from the main galaxy. So I thought it was kind of interesting that these guys were even there and that far away. But this is 41 times 90 seconds with the CLS filter on, which kind of messes with the colors a little bit. But that's that.
Very nice.
And these two, well, this one, Phyllis wanted me to photograph this. The main cluster in the middle is called NGC 663. These are all in Cass. But when I looked at taking the picture for her, I found out that there were, well, depending on the width of your camera and scope, you could get as many as 4 other little open clusters, but I could fit 3 extra ones on mine. So, up at the top, there's NGC 659, and lower center there is NGC 654. And at the bottom right is that faint little cluster, IC 166. So in many ways, this group reminds me of M35 in Gemini and the little NGC cluster, down to its side.
Yeah, that's actually what I was about to say. I saw the title NGC 663, and I was like, I thought I was in 35, but no, yeah.
Yeah.
That's typical Cassiopeia, I guess, right there. There's lots of open clusters all over the place.
Yeah, there are lots of colorful stars and colorful clusters. And so that's why I did this one. So this is 30 times 30 seconds with no filters, just straight through the refractor.
All right, thanks, Mark. We'll move on to Naveen. There you go.
All right, so another area I thought looked interesting. So this was out at Staunton River, almost 3 hours RGB. I'm calling it jelly dust. There's like just a patch of dust off of the Jellyfish Nebula. I didn't really know what it would look like because I was looking in Stellarium and it's just kind of faint. And I think there's like a star, like a bright artifact from a mirror or something that kind of masks what you could see in what I was looking at. But I think it looks pretty cool. Let's see. I went after the Shark Nebula. It seems to be like some horizontal banding in this one. Not really sure why yet, but if you ignore that, I think it still looks pretty good. Of course, tell you the problems I see first. I won't mention the stars though. Actually, yeah, if you're curious what the stars look kind of rough once you get outside of the corrected bits for the reducer. This is just the start of it. But I wanted the dust, so like whatever. So that was at Stone River as well, and LRGB. 5 hours, 15 minutes. And then Dean had taken a EAA shot of this one, Cladwell 44. I found it's called the Superman Galaxy as well. Thought it looked neat. So I don't remember off the top of my head. I actually have it pulled up over here. We really want to know. One moment. NGC 7479. Yeah,
Naveen,
that's
this is one of my favorites. I've been photographing this one for years, and I got it one time with a supernova down on the bottom left-hand side of it.
Oh, that would be cool.
Yeah, no, it's like I hated that you had taken that picture and because I had imaged it. It was one of my first Galaxy images. And yeah, I had imaged it like 2 weeks before you had photographed it with supernova. So someone out there hates me. Okay. So all right. Anyway. Oh, that's your last one. Oh, okay. All right.
Nice job.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that sums up everything. Okay. So all right, great meeting. Yeah, guys, keep up the good work. And two things I want to go ahead and mention. First and foremost, and obvious because this is our last imaging target challenge of the year. We have to get started for the next one coming up, which will be in January. And I checked out the planetarium program last weekend, and it looks like the part of the sky that'll be most accessible from now until in January will be the area around Cassiopeia, Pegasus, and Andromeda. And so I don't know, maybe we'll end up probably doing something like a Greek version of the Summer Triangle, as in like an area of the night sky with the hero Perseus and damsel in distress, Andromeda, blah blah blah. Yeah, but anyway, we'll come up with something. And the second thing, also I want to mention is that Anna's here. Well, both Naveen and Anna, they're the co-chairs here. We did agree to go ahead and do a imaging showcase for December, right? Okay. So, do you know what the day for that meeting is? Okay. Yeah. Well, obviously it's not going to be around near the holiday, so 15th. Okay. Well, a little close to the holiday. Okay. All right. So, but anyway, yeah, for those who have been with us for a while, we normally wrap up the year with a main club meeting where all the amateurs get together and they collect all the best work that they did over the past year, and we do what's termed the imaging showcase. And so for anybody who would like who is going to be around December 15th, we're going to do it pretty much the same format that we did for the Target Challenge tonight. You'll submit your images, and then we'll just narrate. I'll just narrate through all the imagers, and we'll take a look at what your best works were for the past for the year 2023. So, anyways, well, with that said, yeah, I guess that's a wrap. Does anybody else have anything worth mentioning, or am I forgetting anything? No? Okay. Yeah, I guess the only other thing that I could mention is that, yeah, November is kind of up in the air as far as an imaging topic goes. But yeah, but anyway, okay. I guess that's a wrap. So thanks for coming over here to the Cherry Building, the Science House at the NC State at Dix, and thanks for all those who joined us virtually. Have a good night.